Hi, this is Chris Foreman from Madness, and you're listening to the Stateside Madness podcast.
Hi there, folks out there. I'd like you and me, Tommy McGuire and his combo.
Hello, and welcome to the Stateside Madness podcast, the one and only podcast of the official Madness American fan service. I'm Lori, along with my co-host Holly, here to bring you news, reviews, and deep dives into the nutty sound of the British pop band Madness. Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of Stateside Madness. I'm Lori.
And I'm Polly.
And I am so excited at our guest today, Polly.
Yeah, same here. So today we're going to be speaking with Matt Holt. Matt, those of you in the Madness sphere probably will recognize Matt as half of Bed and Breakfast Men, the sort of quasi-tribute act, quasi-vaudevillian ukulele act that does their original material, and all around just nutty guys. And we've spoken with Matt, and boy, does that guy like to talk about Bed and Breakfast Men and Madness. You will see this guy is high energy.
Hey, without any further ado, let's invite Matt into the studio.
Madness, madness, they call it madness. Madness, madness, they call it madness. It's plain to see that it's what they mean to me. Madness, madness, they call it gladness. Madness. Madness, they call it madness. Oh, madness, madness, they call it madness. I'm about to explain that someone is losing their brain. Oh, the madness, madness, I call it gladness. Yeehaw!
Joining us now, we have Matt Holt from the Bed and Breakfast Men.
Hello, guys. Thank you so much for inviting us on. Well, I'll say I'm going to speak on behalf of my cousin Nick, but yeah, I'm Matt Holt, and vocal and ukulele, and the taller one, Nick, is my cousin who can't be here, but he'll be listening. So hello, Nick, and yeah, thank you for inviting the Bed and Breakfast Men on. This is such an honor. This is fantastic. This is our first podcast we've ever done. So yeah, cheers. Yeah.
Well, so our listeners might remember we actually played your version of Dust Devil when we did our episode on Liberty of Norton Folgate. You guys very kindly gave us permission to play that, so thank you. But a Madness tribute band with ukuleles, how did that come about?
Well, I'm going to go quite far back. And so it should make some sense. So bear with me. You're going to think this is a bit of a long story. But so back to 1998. So I'd say that Nick and I are second generation Madness fans, because by the time we actually got our act together and became fans, Madness unfortunately had split up with the single Waiting for the Ghost Train. So in 1998, we were young kids, and we used to stay at our granny's house, and our favorite toy was a cassette tape. So we'd got into Madness from our older cousin who'd basically moved on to CDs. He'd given us all of his old, a lot of people did this, got rid of all their LPs. And I suddenly found myself with a lot of Madness records. And, you know, I was aware, I was born in 1976, so I was aware of them as a kid playing at discos and that kind of thing, but I was just a bit too young to be into music. By the time I'd kind of woken up to it, they'd gone. You know, so then I found myself with all these records, and played them to my cousin Nick, and we both really got into Madness. And so we had the cassette recorder, and Nick had a cassette recorder. So our favorite thing to do, this is before karaoke. I'm not saying we invented it, but this is before karaoke. we'd go to town and buy ourselves a blank cassette tape, a C90 or whatever they used to be called, Maxell. We'd put it in the one cassette recorder. We'd put a Madness album in the other, and we'd sing along to our favourite songs and make our own little albums. So Nick would draw the covers, and we pretended we were in this band. And I think the band were called the Tuesdays, if I remember rightly. We'd made up this, and we used to always get singles, and we'd cover them in paper and make our own sleeves and drawers on the front. So we were young kids pretending to be in a band, using our imagination. But we started to develop, even back then, harmonies. We were fans of bands like, going way back, like the Everly Brothers, that kind of harmony group. But then the Proclaimers, the House Martins, that then became the Beautiful South. We liked harmonies, really liked singing together and harmonizing. And we noticed that in some of the songs that we were doing, we were kind of harmonizing on songs that didn't have Madness songs that didn't really have harmonies, or they kind of weren't as obvious. So then fast forward, imagine leave these two kids behind back in the late 90s. When we grew up, our first proper gig when Madness got back together was Finsbury Park. So that was a big influence on us. When we found out we were getting back together, we suddenly were, enthused again that there's going to be new music and all that kind of thing. We still weren't driving by this. We're still, young 15, 16-year-olds. So for that to be our first kind of big festival, that made a big impact on us. You imagine, hearing a band that you thought were never going to play live again, you're there, and a fantastic warm evening. I remember it really, really well. And so that had a big influence. Then, so we've grown up, we've gone off and got jobs and become older men. And unfortunately, Nick and I, our dads, who are brothers, they both passed away quite close together. So I was 26 and I lost my dad to pancreatic cancer. And the year after, Nick unfortunately lost his dad, my dad's brother, Roy, to a brain tumor. So we'd been playing in different things like guitars and different things together all the way through university, but, just this same way of recording on tapes and having fun. So we decided to go out busking, and we called ourselves the Lonesome Pines, which I don't know if there's any Laurel and Hardy fans out there, but that would kind of indicate some of the songs that we played. We played all sorts of different things. Again, this vocal harmony thing was a strong element to it, because it was basically me on a ukulele and my vocal and Nick's vocal. And we noticed, so we did this once a year. We'd kind of go around and we had 5 different spots, and we were raising money for cancer research, a charity, because of what happened with our fathers. And it got us back together again. We got into that mode where when we were like little kids, we'd meet up, we'd sing songs together, and it was really just like we were in Granny's front room all those years ago. And we noticed that we had a couple of Madness songs in. So we had My Girl, which we'd taken from a Top of the Pops performance. When Madness got back together, they played Top of the Pops over here in the 90s. And they did My Girl with harmonies and stuff, which really resonated with us because there hadn't really been the harmonies on the original version. So Chaz and the guys obviously got back and thought about, how we're going to do a little bit different now. Now time's moved on. So we did a version of My Girl and It Must Be Love. And I distinctly remember one day it was chucking it down with rain, or pouring it down with rain. And we were packing down from playing on a street corner, and a lady came along and put £5, well, that is in dollars, $7. So what's probably $5 now, isn't it, with the exchange rate? She popped that into, and I said, "Oh, sorry, we've finished. We've just finished. The last song was It Must Be Love." She said, "I know. I was listening around the corner. I've just gone to the bank, and I love that song, and I've just got £5 out." And
I never thought I'd miss you half as much as I do. And I never thought I'd feel this way, the way I feel about you.
And so we thought, there's something in this. The Madness song seemed to be going down really, really well, even though we thought Madness on a ukulele and just 2 vocals, it's a stretch when you think of all the saxophone solos and all the other stuff. There's a lot on Madness records. You know, there's a 7-piece band. There's a lot in the mix that Clive Langer and Alan Winstanley put together. So I was a member of Mad Chat, I believe, from, we'll talk about a film I made, Morris and Minor documentary, a bit later, but I was a member from that. I got on board and tried to find people who'd be interested in a film about Morris Minors. And so I just uploaded a video of us playing My Girl. And Steve Farthing of Mad Chat spotted it and said, hey, how would you guys like to play the Dublin Castle? And, you know, our jaws dropped. And we were like, yeah, that'd be great. Thinking, you know, they wanted us to get up on stage for maybe 2 songs, the 2 Madness songs that we knew, and play the Dublin Castle. And so we agreed, you know, without thinking too much about it. And then this would have been 2016. And the gig was going to be in 2017, March 2017. So this was probably about in the summer of 2016. So he said, I want you to play for an hour of Madness songs. And me and Nick were like, an hour of Madness songs. So we'd agreed already. Then suddenly the nerves kick in. You're thinking to yourself, this is going to be terrible. You know, who's going to want to watch a short guy with a ukulele, a taller guy as a knockoff Madness band? You know, this is just, and we started to get the fear started setting. But then we had an idea of, okay, let's set up a YouTube channel. We're going to have to work some more songs out, obviously, because we've only got 2. Unless we keep playing the 2 songs, we're bound to get booed off stage if we do that. So we set up the YouTube channel. We thought we'll test it. So we'll make these songs. We'll cover the songs that we love, because I do believe in life in general. Do the thing you love, then you'll do it with passion. You'll do it with, you guys know this with your podcast. If you start doing something you're enthusiastic about and you love, it tends to resonate with other people. And if you resonate with other people, you get an emotional reaction from other people, then you're halfway there. That's halfway the battle. So our first song that we did, we put up was Waiting for the Ghost Train, which was one of our favorites, because when we found out they'd split, this became like, oh, this is the last song. So we played that probably more than the other ones, because like, this is a grail. This is the last song they did.
But don't you tell me there's nothing coming. You don't fool me. I hear the ghost train rumbling along the tracks and free. And I hear them, it's black and white. Don't try to hide it. It's black and white. Don't try to hide it.
And again, it went down well. We got quite a few views. So then we started judging it by, you know, what we could work. I mean, obviously, one step beyond. You can't really do that on a ukulele. We've even tried introducing a kazoo. It's terrible, awful. But things like In the Middle of the Night or Deceives the Eye, those kind of songs that we're pulling out that are not, you know, these are B-sides. So
right, or deep album tracks, yeah.
Or deep album tracks. But also we could do stuff. It was our weakness of being this ukulele, just based on the ukulele and tambourine and vocals, became actually a strength, because we realized we could do a lot of the stuff that the other tribute bands couldn't do, or realize that if they're going to play to a mass audience of probably not Madness fans, they're going to have to play the hits. You know, you're going to have to do Our House, all that kind of stuff. But we knew we were playing to super keen, Madness aficionado fans at the Dublin Castle, where Madness had their first break and their residency and all this kind of thing. So it suddenly became, we started to gain our confidence, because we're getting such lovely comments. People were saying, "Oh, that's great! I've never heard that played before." Well, and a lot of the stuff we were doing, put on YouTube, it wasn't there. There were no videos of, you know, there was obviously the proper pop video to Wait for the Ghost Train, but there wasn't anybody playing it on a guitar or a ukulele. So we were doing stuff for the first time, and then suddenly our confidence grew. And it grew so much that we'd called ourselves the Bed and Breakfast Men by that stage. We couldn't call ourselves the Lonesome Pines, because, you know, the chance of being that many Laurel and Hardy fans at the gig is, you know, it's a bit of a gamble. And So we changed the name to the Bed and Breakfast Men because we didn't want to put madness in the title and be, super madness. So we don't want to lead people down this track that we're, going to be playing all the madness hits. And also it just gave us a bit of I don't know, it's a bit different that we weren't called, the madness or complete madness or whatever. No disrespect to those guys. These guys were doing it properly for a living. We're buskers, chancers that have been given this opportunity, and it's a bit of a risk. And we thought this is going to be a one-off. We're going to play the Dublin Castle. We might go down okay as a sport act. And then we've said we've done it. What an achievement, that kind of thing. So we wanted to write an original song because I thought that would give us a bit of kudos. If it's not going down very well, at least we can say, well, we wrote our own song, a kind of a madness knockoff, in the vein of madness, name checking, a lot of references and things that people would know about madness. The idea of making the pop video, which we could shoot at different locations that were in madness videos around Camden Town, including the Dublin Castle. So that's what we did. So we wrote a song called Dublin Castle. And originally it was going to be about us as buskers, but then we decided let's distance it. Let's write about a character, a bit like, Waterloo Sunset, kind of, Terry and Julie. It's about this mythical girl who's busking around Camden on a rainy day. It's hard work. She's trying to raise some money, trying to get money in the hat, and she makes it back to Dublin Castle in the dry to listen to her favourite madness music, have a pint of beer, and kind of, and I've tried, I've gone out there and I've tried to make a go at it. So that was the idea for that, and we did the gig, and it went really, really well. And we put out 100 of these CDs, and we were signing them and sending them off to all these fans that we never, I thought, just get 100 done, limited edition, all in aid of the Mad Chat charity. So big up to Mad Chat, to Steve Farthing and Rob Taverner and Brian and Kieran, all those guys, because they give us the opportunity, and without that, there wouldn't be a Bed and Breakfast Men. So we created a set. And we'd written a song, and that's kind of where we thought it was all going to end. But it didn't.
All right. Well, that's amazing to me. That's amazing to me because I think, as you might know, I used to be an admin on Mad Chat. And I had no idea that we were watching the formation of your band. I mean, I just kind of assumed, I guess, that you guys were fully formed, and a lot
of that surprised as well. A lot of people, I think, because we've been playing together since we were kids, and because we were related. I don't know whether you know the band Crowded House, but obviously when they put Woodface, so when they put Woodface out, the two Finn brothers that sing together, a bit like the Everly Brothers, you kind of we've got Nick and I have a similar voice, and we're able to harmonise, and often we'll swap it round and one will be singing the lead and one will be singing harmony. You can't quite tell who's doing what. And so we're lucky in that respect. Being related, we've kind of got a close, our voices are quite similar. So I think they sound okay. I'm not being big-headed. I think they sound okay harmonising together. I think there's a lot of that we're pulling from being young kids and being teenagers with guitars and just messing about. We spent so much time together as kids with these tape recorders. We did comedy and all sorts of things, pretending to be Monty Python and all sorts of things. But it was pretending to be this band, which one of the lines in Dublin Castle is 2 dreamers on a ghost train, which is obviously it's a nod to Our House, 2 Dreamers, and Ghost Train, obviously, which is one of our favourite songs. But that's what we thought. We just like 2 dreamers that kind of, as kids, invented this thing. And then it became, as we became adults, it became an actual thing. We still can't quite believe it. We still don't take it seriously. That's another good thing. We don't take this too seriously at all, which kind of gave us the opportunity to mess around. A bit like Madness did in their videos. We're not setting ourselves up as serious musicians. This is 2 fellas, a Madness ukulele tribute band. I mean, how niche do you want to be? Although, very low carbon footprint. And should there be, should there be unfortunately a power strike or anything like that during our gigs, well, we can still carry on, folks. So, but it is a bit of a dream, and But the next phase, it did turn a bit sad after that, because because Dublin Castle had gone down so well, we thought, well, we raised quite a bit of money for the charity, so let's capitalize on this, because we thought it was going to be a one-trick pony. So we wrote To the Moon and Back Again, which is our second single. But then Nick, unfortunately, went down the leukemia. So it's kind of a sad turn. And we'd been raising money for cancer research charities. And just as we were kind of like realizing this daydream had becoming true, Nick was very, very ill during, it would have been 2017. So the year after Dublin Castle. So we played Dublin Castle in the March, and then we released. We played March 2017. We quickly came up with a new song, and we're playing again in December. And unfortunately, Nick was so ill, I had to play on my own, and it was tough. Making the video was really, really tough, because we kept it quite secret, and Nick didn't want to make a big deal about it. But I was heartbroken. I remember that I got the news while me and my wife were making the single cover. And Nick just rang me up and said, I'm not going to be able to practice and play. And it was tough.
We all have roads we have to walk down. Some you take and some you choose to leave. Familiar faces in a strange town, and changes that are seen to be believed. And once we battled through the cold days, looks like the light's so far away. Not like it used to be in the old days. I think that I heard somebody say, we must be crazy or it must be love. Don't think me lazy, it's just not enough. There are two tones in my head, mixing around with all the words you said. We must be crazy or it must be love. You got me smiling at the sky above, in the sunshine and through the rain. To the moon and back again, to the moon and back again. So when I look up at the night sky, maybe I'll raise a glass or three to absent friends who helped us scrape by, or what it was that brought you here to me. We must be crazy or it must be love. Don't think me lazy, it's just not enough. There are two tones in my head, mixing around with all the words you said. We must be crazy or it must be love. You got me smiling at the sky above, in the sunshine through the rain. To the moon and back again, to the moon and back again. All through the years, facing our fears, old and the young, we still had fun. Back here with you, we'll all get through. All the slings and all the arrows, side by side for new tomorrows. We must be crazy or it must be love. Don't think me lazy, it's just not enough. There are two tones in my head, mixing around with all the words you said. We must be crazy or it must be love. You got me
but we pushed through it, and Dublin Castle, we managed to get a friend of ours, Chesa, which again we might talk about later on, is a very good blag artist, managed to get Lee Thompson playing Mr. Moon in the pop video. So if you watch To the Moon and Back Again, right at the very end, it's revealed that Lee Thompson is the moon. He takes his mask off, and we filmed that down in London. Again, while Nick was ill, we had to piece it together. And there's bits where Nick and I are driving around in the Morris Minor van, and he was really poorly, but he's in the Morris Minor is not the most comfortable car, folks. I drive one daily. It's, it's the focus of driving in my car, and, it is a very old fashioned vehicle. So for him to do that, I remember having to stop, and, we had to take it easy, but we completed the pop video and we made, and it's quite, it's a joyous, a little film. And and luckily, thankfully, Nick became well and recovered, and we were then able to go on and do other songs. But that was a real roller coaster. I remember I went down to Minehead, and I went on the stage doing. I did Dublin Castle on the talent competition that they had. Manhead's Got Talent, and it was really tough, knowing that Nick couldn't come, and I was doing it on my own, and. But just so you have, the show must go on, and like I say, Nick didn't want to make a big deal about it, and still doesn't. So he'll probably be listening to this going, "What are you telling everybody this for?" But I think it needs to be said, because again, people just think that we were a gigging band that were doing lots of work together, and we weren't. We were basically two buskers that got lucky. So obviously, when we put the singles out, if you've heard them, folks, if you've heard Dublin Castle or To the Moon and Back, it's not just me playing a ukulele and two harmonies. We actually go into a studio, and we work with session musicians. We work with a great guy called George Odom, who we call Nice Man George, and he's like the magic. He's our George Martin, really. He's the guy behind the scenes that turns us from, a double act. I call us a cheap music hall act or a vaudeville act. It is an act more than a band, I must say. We if you see us live on stage, we are laughing and joking around. There's lots of stupid hats and comic asides in between. It's more of a, Abbott Costello, that kind of thing. But George turns us into an actual band for the duration of those recordings. So I want to thank George as well. And also, after we did Dublin Castle, Peggy, Henry and Allo Conlon, who you will know, the Conlons were in control of Dublin Castle when Madness were signed. It was down to Allo Senior, who, they were given the chance to have residency back in the back room and play and get a big fan following. But they asked if they could put a photograph as a signed photograph of us above the bar. Now that's well, yeah, sure you can. Oh, if you send us a photograph down, signed photo in a frame, we'll put it above the bar. So if you ever make it to Dublin Castle, folks, and you look above the bar, and this still amazes me to this day, there is Madness, obviously. There's Amy Winehouse. There's Travis, and there's a photograph of the Bed and Breakfast Men, two chancers or dreamers above the bar. And I'm lucky to say that I did get to interview Fran Healy from Travis in Hollywood. And when we got to the interview, I said to him, do you remember the Dublin Castle? He's like, oh, yeah, great place. Yeah, I know the Conlon family. Yeah, I know the Dublin Castle. Well, I said, well, I've got a photograph of the bar next to your photograph.
That's
absolutely
so cool.
Well, that's crazy. That's just
so
nuts,
cool.
isn't it? It doesn't happen. And our song is also on the jukebox, which is fun. If you go 00 on the jukebox, there's you can get all the Bed and Breakfast, current Bed and Breakfast Men back catalogue, they're all charity singles. They're all for different charities. So again, that's fantastic to go in there as we do. And Henry said, as long as he's around, our photograph is going to be above the bar, or as long as somebody hasn't got a screwdriver.
Don't be standing in the wings for too long. There are some things you can't hide. Take a cue from all your favourite songs. All those opportunities will pass you by. Make a leap without a safety net. And give them something they can never forget. Just fake it till you'll make it. just remember when you first heard that sound up the front for every show. All the laughter and the joking around. If you turn back now, well, I guess you'll never know. Might be better when they stand on the clouds. You can't enjoy the us without a few downs. Quit stalling, it's calling you into the limelight, limelight. Two shadows in the spotlight so bright. And no need to act your age. From your daydreams to the stage, you're dancing in the limelight, limelight. Could only be for one night tonight. No need to act your age. If you live out all your daydreams on the stage. Tap, tap, tapping from the critics on the sidelines, painting rainbows bright to grey. It don't matter, let them chatter in the meantime. Best foot forward, seize the day. Into the limelight, limelight. Two shadows in the spotlight so bright. No need to act your age. From your daydreams to the stage, you're shining in the limelight, limelight. Could only be for one night tonight. No need to act your age. If you live out all your daydreams on this limelight, limelight. Two shadows in the spotlight so bright. And no need to act your age. From your daydreams to the stage. Limelight, limelight. Could only be for one night tonight. No need to act your age.
But that's fantastic. I mean, you know, as kids, we
Right.
couldn't have dreamt of things like that, and it's just wonderful. And that's through Mad Chat and through the love of the fans and the fact that, you know, everybody's got a good sense of humour, and you just, you know, it's great to be a part of that. Even for us, even if it falls off tomorrow, it's like, you know, we've been up there with the greats.
Dublin Castle, obviously spiritual home of Madness. So that's so exciting.
Yes.
Did I see that you're going to be playing there November 26th?
Yes. So you might remember I mentioned Cheza, Nick Cheza Chesney. So yeah, so he passed away last September, and he became he was in our videos cameo. So he was supposed to be the compere the day that we played the very first gig back in 2017. He was supposed to be the compere. But if anybody knows Cheza, he's sometimes he can be there and sometimes he disappears. So he wasn't there to be compere, and he was supposed to come up on stage and sing in the middle of the night with us. So we came off stage, and I'd never met this mythical character called Nick Cheza Chesney. And so we came off stage, went to the bar, and this larger-than-life character is waltzing across the bar with a guitar that he's bought from next door, a record shop next door to Dublin Castle, which is signed by every member of Madness. And I said to him, I said, hey, you. I said, you were supposed to be introducing us on stage. And he was like, hello, Ducky. He used to talk like that. And I felt like thumping him one, but he bought me a drink and we sat down and became the best of friends. And then he wanted to be in our pop videos. And I said, well, I don't know about that. You know, it's difficult enough as it is trying to do this stuff, race around with a camera and get these pop videos. But he, legend has it, I know this is true, because again, this is a guy that in the song we've just written about him, I have the line, don't believe a bleeding word he says. But apparently he went to school with Lee Thompson's wife, Debbie. So he knows the Thompsons quite well, as you will see, getting Lee in our video to the moon and back. So Cheza played roles he was into the moon and back, and he played the role of my great grandfather, Billy Burton, the stand-up comedian, music hall comedian in Limelight. He's in that with a ventriloquist dummy. He's in black and white. He's playing the piano and all that kind of thing. And then in 1979, he played Doctor Who, of all people, in a TARDIS going backwards and forwards in time.
I keep tripping over memories and records they forget to play that. Call me back through 40 years of dust and scratches. They they won't fade away.
Never knew we would get so high up upon the roof. Our castle in the sun, so far from yesterday and the race we tried to run.
Takes me back to 1979. It's a place I think of all of the time we spent way back when. The needle jumps and we're there again. Oh, lucky sevens shining brightly. They picked us up when the chips were down and spinning words kept up the sleeve. Hats and badges dancing through the town.
We lived in the friends we made, but the time it took us by surprise. Don't stray too far from who you are and the love that hides inside.
Takes me back to 1979. It's a place I think of all of the time we spent way back when. The needle jumps and we're there again. Takes me back to 1979. It's a place I think of all of the time we spent way back when. The needle jumps and we're there again. The place we came from, the broken dreams. I can't quite get what we're supposed to be. The checkered past, it was built to last, and it's still so clear to me. Takes me back to 1979. It's a place I think of all of the time we spent way back when. The needle jumps and we're there again. Takes me back to 1979. It's a place I think of all of the time we spent way back when. The needle jumps and we're there again. 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 The needle jumped and it's 1979.
And we were working on a song called More Than Enough. And he was going to play some roles in that. It was going to be a devil and an angel and Scrooge. But unfortunately, he passed away quite suddenly last year. And as you know, it was we're still going through COVID and those kind of things. So we weren't able to do the celebrations and things that we wanted to do. And so I was on holiday this year and I just came up with this song, Our Man Chez. It kind of like just fell out of me. It's a bit Ian Dury. It's a bit, it's one of those songs where you know, like Last Rag of Bone Man or those songs. What's the other one that Suggs wrote recently about the woman who's she plays the one-armed bandit?
Pam the Hawk.
Pam the Hawk. So it's that kind of song where you're, you know, I'm trying to capture all of Chez's larger than life qualities. And anybody that was around Clapham or Camden or Dublin Castle or Minehead, you know, people who didn't know him personally knew of him. And this is just a tip of the hat to Nick Chesney. It's called Our Man Chez. So we've come up with a bed and breakfast, which is on the 26th of November at the Dublin Castle with support act, the Rye Dogs, which is George Odom's band with Wayne Kelly. And Wayne works with me. Big thanks to Wayne, who also helps with the pop videos and does a lot behind the scenes because we can't, you know, it's just two of us. We can't do this all on our own. But yeah, it's going to be a proper festival. We're going to be doing our songs and the new song. And then we launch a studio version of that in December. But hopefully, I don't know when this is going out, folks, but you never know. Our Man Chez might be playing
November 12th.
November 12th. We might be able to send you a preview copy or a work in progress.
Cool.
Which would be great to get a little taster of it. Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful tribute for Chezer too, because he and I never met him personally, but he and I used to be Facebook friends. And you're absolutely right. He was absolutely larger than life. And I mean, he just kind of ran the gamut of, you know, I mean, he could just be a fantastic dick sometimes. Yeah. But
well, that's in the song, and that is in the song. There's lines. Yeah, there's all sorts. Yeah, I can't really go into too much because I don't want to see,
Right.
defamation of character or
Right.
Although we were big friends, and
Yeah, he was a good guy.
we had a lot of respect for each other, and in a only short time that we knew each other, he did a lot for the band, and we had some fantastic laughs together. But yeah, he was king of the promising to do one thing and then doing another, disappearing. He'd be there 1 minute and he'd be gone the next.
Ow! Sorry, my cat just bit me. Sorry.
That wasn't me, folks. I'm in the UK. My arms are not that long. So and it's all in raising money for Mind charity, which I don't know if you have that in the States, but it's a mental health charity that was Chez's favorite charity. So yeah, we're going to raise as much as we can for Mind charity. And the video will be coming out in December too. We've gone back to Dublin Castle. There's some mad chatters in there. There is a special guest from the band Madness.
Ooh.
I can't say any more. It's an exclusive. Can't say any more, but yeah, eagle-eyed folks will spot a man wearing a fez. And we don't know whether this will be our last single. It could be. This could be our swan song. Could be the end. But we don't know. It's we've waited a couple of years, obviously, with lockdown to put something new out, and it just felt great to be able to. I think it'd be tickled pink. Chezo, if he's wherever he is, he liked to be the centre of attention. He was a song and dance man. Could call it a show off. We call it, a bon vivant, a character.
That's a fantastic tribute for him, and to be able to, and to donate to his charity like that. So that's so cool.
The thing about Madness, let's just go back to Madness. This is not off topic. This is kind of Madness brings people together. I've always found that their songs, lift your spirits. Even songs like Grey Day, even songs that you think might on the surface be quite negative, they're not. They can say stuff. They can say things, serious things, in a jolly way, and even they can write a song about homelessness, which is really catchy and lifts your spirits. And I'm not saying we're anything like them at all, but that's what our aim was, to make songs that are that can hopefully cheer you up. And even if you don't know Cheza or you've not been to the Dublin Castle or any of these things, we hope that they resonate. And you can see that it's a homage. There's an old saying: it's not where you take it from, it's where you take it to. So you could say that we're rip-off merchants, or you could say that it's a fantastic homage to our heroes of Madness. But yeah, it's just nice to be able to do that kind of thing. And I think online we've all lent on YouTube, Facebook, podcasts, all these kind of things during COVID. But it's great to get back in front of an audience and meet people again. It's because we've all lost people, not just through COVID, but you spend 2 years away from people, and unfortunately, it's the sadness of life. But Madness, even with their songs, like Drip Fed Fred, getting Ian Jury, who was very at the time, and to be on the record and to be on the pop video, it's such a fine tribute to their hero. And they would say they used to say they were ripping off, but during the Blockheads. But I think Ian was, he used to say, "Oh no, I'm not having that. You're your own kind of band." And it's all part of a tradition that goes back to British music hall, I believe. It runs through the Beatles and the Kinks and a lot of these bands. It runs through Madness, and hopefully we're picking up a bit on that. And I hope people don't think that we're just trying to cash in on their name or anything like that, because that's why that's why we went with the Bed and Breakfast Men. It's like if you're a Madness fan, that song. If you're not a Madness fan, you probably don't. And so it just sounds like a very weird name to call a band.
Wow. Polly, I don't know that we have anything else to add, do we?
I have one more thing. You can cut this out or you can rearrange it.
No matter. Go right for it.
But at the beginning of this, I don't know whether we were recording or not, but I'm a filmmaker by trade. And I got into filmmaking, I'd say, because one of Laurel and Hardy, when I was watching Laurel and Hardy as a kid, but also the Madness pop videos, which I had on VHS. And I used to watch, there was 2 volumes, Complete Madness and Utter Madness at the time. And I used to watch these pop videos and how they were put together and all that kind of thing. And so I made a film. This is before the Bed and Breakfast Men. I made a film called Morris and Mine, a documentary. And I was putting it together because I drive a Morris Minor. Now, people who have heard the song Driving in My Car might recognize it says Morris on the door. The GPO owned it before. The GPO being the post office in the UK, and Madness, they drove old post office Morris Minor vans. So I'd started making this little film, and I was on Twitter, and I thought, again, bit of a dream, a bit of a daydream. I'm going to send this off to Mike Barson, who came up with, as you know, wrote Driving in My Car, and ask him if he'll be in my film. Thinking, this long shot, this is never going to happen. Within a day, he gets back to me. I'd sent him a clip of, it was all about young people using Morris Minors because you don't need road tax. You can fix them yourself, and they're very, very low insurance. So a lot of young people, there's like a little hardcore of young drivers that are keeping Morris Minors going. And I drive Morris Minors. So I think Driving in My Car doesn't get a lot of love by a lot of people, but the people that love it really, really love it. And it's often featured in films and documentaries, things in the background to do with cars, driving and road trips and that kind of thing. So he agreed, and we met him. I found a pub down in London with a piano not far from his house, and he came down on his bicycle on his own. And when you arrange these things, you think this is never going to happen. He's not going to turn up. Always going to turn up with an entourage. You're going to get like 5 minutes tops. And so we had the camera set upstairs in front of a piano, and I get to meet Mike Barson, who front room of my granny's bedroom. My granny's front room that had a piano, and me and Nick used to play and mess around with all these Madness songs. And I get to meet Mike Barson, and he's in. If you go on YouTube, Morris and Minor documentary, Mike gives a fantastic interview, and we were there for about an hour, and he told us loads of stuff that's not in there's nothing to do with Morris Minors, which is more about Madness. But again, in a little way, I got Nick to play Mike Barson in Morris and Minor documentary. So we got a van, an old Madness style van, post office van. And as Mike's talking about how he wrote the song when he was working for Five Bananas, advertising and delivering these posters around London and trying to get the window down with a bit of trouble, and listening to Ring My Bell on the radio and all this kind of thing around the 70s. Nick, the other Bed and Breakfast man, is acting as, because he's tall and he's in a jacket, shot from behind, all this kind of thing, disguising him. He's playing Mike Barson. Apparently it's the first time that anybody has played Mike Barson. So again, that was great. But again, that brought me and Nick together. And obviously that was kind of me getting onto Mad Chat and putting that out there to try and connect with other Madness fans. So, that is part of it. And, I've met Mike, who's fantastic bloke. We had a lovely time. And we've met Lee, and I'm not going to spoil anything else going forwards. But meeting your heroes is fantastic. These little ideas. And I imagine you guys are the same. You've come up with this fantastic idea for a podcast, and being in the States where it is niche, ukulele Madness bands is niche, but I imagine in the size of America, you guys are niche as well. But, niche is where things are at, isn't it? If you get a lot of people together, like-minded people, it's a really good way to enthuse about things that you love. That film, Morris and Minor documentary, was, I think, integral in Bed and Breakfast Men getting together somewhere down the line, and also, Mad Chat and us having a little bit of a connection physically with Madness. And so check out Driving in My Car, folks. We've not actually covered that. Again, anybody knows the song, there's a lot of sound effects, which would be highly impossible to do on a ukulele unless we blew into it or something, or I hit it on Nick's head in some way. But yeah, I just thought I'd add that little bit in, because that's meeting Mike and that was, I think that spurred us on to do stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, that's so cool.
Where can we find Bed and Breakfast Men?
Well, you can find the Bed and Breakfast Men on Twitter, which is BNB Men, at BNB Men. We're on Facebook, which I think is just type in the Bed and Breakfast Men. But YouTube is where all our videos that I was talking about, which we do in front of a red curtain, as though we're on stage, as I was with this old-fashioned music hall vaudeville act on stage in front of a red curtain, but it's really obviously the trick of a camera. But yeah, if you go on YouTube, just type in the Bed and Breakfast Men. You're probably going to find Bed and Breakfast Man, the single, and the pop video, which is great. Check that out if you're not a fan and you've never heard of it. But yeah, like, subscribe, comment. It's great to hear what people think of us doing cover versions of things like, Coldest Day, and a lot of these songs that, we try and find the stuff that no one's done. We get a kick out of that. Even if it doesn't have many views, you still get comments from people going, "That's my favorite song, and you've covered it, and nobody else has ever covered that." And that's great, because it's the stuff that we love that we haven't heard play live. And we're like thinking, can you play Michael Caine live and do the impersonations and all that kind of thing? Oh, well, let's see. So yeah, that's where you can find us. Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Have a good day.
You too.
We'll be in contact. Thank you.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. You take care of yourselves.
Wow, that was awesome. So many good stories, don't you think?
That it was, and lovely to hear from somebody out there who's really carrying the Madness banner and is really enthusiastic about it. So thanks again to Matt for that fantastic interview.
It was really cool to hear how everything kind of came about as a result of the Madness fan community. He mentioned Steve Farthing, who I'm friends with online, Robert Taverner, and how fortunate we are as fans to be alive in this age of social media where we can connect with each other like this, because there's no way that I would have met any of these people, for example, if not for social media. And then look what came of this, right? I mean, this is a bona fide band.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool.
And that is very nearly the end of the episode then. As we are like to do, we've picked out a special closing song, and it was referenced a little bit earlier in the podcast. This is Dublin Castle by the Bed and Breakfast Men.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. Thank you again for listening. It's a goodbye from me.
And that's a goodbye for me. Go get a beer, Stateside Madness.
At Dublin Castle, if you can.
Station, you clutched in her hand a glimpse of generosity beyond the music stand.